podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
I'm with Wayne. We're just post-game. How you doing, Wayne?
What a difference a week makes, because
it does.
I'm much better now than I was a week ago, for sure. And yeah, talking after a win and 90 minutes, possibly not perfect, but the first 45, even accounting for the goal, I thought it was one of the most promising, probably since Solskjaer away from home that we've played. I was really impressed with that first half.
Lot of control, gave away the goal, but came back strong. I thought United were very good most of the game. I mean, obviously towards the last 15, 20 minutes, Everton had a lot of pressure. A couple of times they chucked it into the mixer with Calvert-Lewin, which was bound to happen. But I thought overall this was not a bad performance from United. Went more counter-attack in the second half, but fashioned some chances as a result. So not too many negatives to say about this. Thought Ten Hag got the team right to start with as well. Made changes not too many changes, but the two changes sort of late in the game to try and close things out, and got the result. What more do you need?
Well, yeah, and you look at it in a sort of like a binary fashion and say results are what United desperately needed after what happened against City. But we know because we sit and watch this and analyse it for like an hour, and you for 3 hours with the various podcasts that you have, on a rolling basis, that you're looking for more than just results. And the key thing that we've been looking for is character and response, right? Because we know that they've got talent, right, and all that sort of stuff. And so over the last week, we've definitely seen character and response. We saw it. It might have come from the manager at half-time in the Europa League, but it certainly came because they were very good in the second half. The changes were good, and we got the win. And Ammonia put up a great performance, and in their own, respectively, they put up a great performance because it was a game of their lives, and United were made to work for it. And then United, again, a different kind of test, and which is something that I'm always keener to look at and more enthusiastic about when I see the response, is how the team reacts by themselves without needing the half-time rocket. And they responded. We've seen that United team, or various members of that United team, concede an early goal after starting well and completely lose their heads and just lose it. And they didn't. They regrouped. They were very good. That Martial looked really good, and then the team recovered from losing him and having a very different kind of threat in the team, and making the most out of that threat, because I thought Ronaldo was all right when he came on as well, in a very different kind of way to what Martial would have played. So two different game plans, different resilience in terms of coming back into the game, different approaches in terms of how they controlled both of the games in the last week. And I think everything, it's like we've been saying all along this season, because it's a building block kind of season, and you're trying to see all the stepping stones and how Ten Hag's going. Yeah, you could have said, United, everyone wanted us to win against City. Don't get me wrong, I'm in that group as well. But acknowledging we were probably going to lose, and then assessing how heavy the scale of that loss was going to be kind of interesting anyway, because we've been saying all along, well, Ten Hag's been learning from his mistakes as he's been going along, and he did. Yeah, maybe he picked too passive a midfield against it. Maybe he didn't look at the historical good results we've had against City and think, this is how I'm going to set up. He went in a little bit too bold. They wiped the floor with us, and he's gone back and he's gone, no, well, I'm still going to stick with what I'm doing because I still think that that's the right thing to do, but I'm going to use that heaviness in terms of the defeat to start switching things up again. And I think we've debated the right time to bring in Casemiro. I think it was the right time. I don't think he was perfect tonight. I think the man of the match call was probably a little bit optimistic by BT Sport, but he was very good and he did recover very well. So.
And especially since he made a mistake in the build-up to Everton's goal as well. Yeah. And he still gave away a few passes, and you still get the sense that he's still getting used to the speed because he's making mistakes that I don't think I ever saw him made at Real Madrid. Giving away sloppy balls and that kind of thing just wasn't the kind of thing he typically did. And I suspect that's to do with the speed and the physicality and him getting used to it. Let's hope he's getting used to it. But after that, I thought very good. Made a third man run, should have scored, shouldn't he, from that pass from Rashford.
Yeah.
With a header, got the assist with a very good ball into the channel for Ronaldo for United, what turned out to be the winner. All-round good game. So, yeah, right time for him to come in. I thought the other changes made a lot of sense. Rashford on form for Sancho, Shaw on form for Malacia. And not that I want to beat up on Malacia, but he had a couple of tough games, and it's only fair. I mean, Ten Hag has said before that he's going to pick players on how they're playing.
Yeah.
And that's a good bar, isn't it? Because I think it's true to say that under Ollie, players didn't always get picked on form and performance, sometimes on reputation. And I mean, it's very clear. If you're playing well, you're in the team. If you're not, you're out.
No, I think
no drama about it. And so the 4 changes tonight were probably the right ones.
Yeah.
And just unlucky for Antony Martial that he's again injured. I mean, the guy just cannot stay fit. And how serious will tell. And it might have been one of those ones, in fact, where it's Martial sort of him deciding that he's not quite right.
I don't know. Do you know what? I might be controversial to the listener here because I've been heavily critical of Martial over the last few years, and that probably the last couple of runs he's had in the first team, I've said this is last chance saloon for him. I don't think it would have been the last few weeks because he's known that this is round about his last chance, and he knows that he's got a chance. He knows that he's not going to be kicked out of the team. He's had faith to have a run of performances in front of Ronaldo, which I think is a massive investment of faith from a manager. So he can't say that he's not been backed to perform or he's not been given the chance. So I think it will be a fair enough injury that he's picked up, and that the rumour was that he picked it up in the build-up and he wasn't going to play.
Right.
He got it just before kickoff, and he played through that. I mean, he actually played all right when he was on the pitch. He looked like he was going to do stuff, and it just didn't work out for him. And he's going to get his chance again. And he needs.
He will. And look, I think the challenge with Martial is less that he's faking the injury, and more that it has to be 100% in his head for him to feel like a bit like Cavani. He doesn't want to play unless he feels exactly right. Whereas other players will play to a fault with all kinds of injuries. I mean, Harry Maguire did himself a disservice by playing for months with taking injections for the hip problem. And Rashford's played through shoulder injuries, ankle injuries, and a broken back, and he gets pelters from fans all over the place. So. Yeah,
I tell you, if I do have a reservation with, let's say, Shaw and Martial, just for the sake of argument, because they were the two started, and a lot of criticism's been in, and they both played well. Now Shaw's already shown that he can do that. He can get into shape, and he can put in good performances when his position in the side is under severe threat. That's when you see him at his best. But still at his best, United, and Lindelof is a good example of this as well. Lindelof, Shaw and Martial, 3 players who come in, their attitude can't be questioned at the minute because they're coming in and doing a job, but that job is still probably only good enough to get United into the top 3. Maybe not this season, but historically, that's what it's been. And I don't want to be too harsh on them, because what I'm saying is, effectively, the case that they're making for themselves is that they're going to be very useful squad players. And I don't think that that's a bad place for them to be, considering where they could have been at the start of the summer. If that's what they're going to offer long term, then great. And it's good in terms of, like you said, Malassia's had a couple of bad games. So if you've got a professional, if Shaw's going to be really professional about this and come in and say, this is as good as I'm going to get for the rest of my career and I'm going to give it everything, then that's not a bad thing. And it's going to give Malacia breathing room to improve as well. So I do want to say one thing while we're giving praise. Nobody's going to have heard this on the podcast because I saved this grumble off air, but you will definitely attest to this, Ed. I have been very marginally critical of Antony in my sort of like that slight reservation that I've had, and it's all based in the Sociedad game. Now that I've
Right.
seen him play a run of games, I've been all right. Okay, I'm a little bit more convinced, but I was a little bit apprehensive about giving him too much praise because there was only one moment in the Sociedad game where he spanned the marker and he ran.
Yeah.
But apart from that, it was anonymous. And my grumble to you over these last 2 or 3 podcasts that we've done is that I've not seen. Sometimes I don't think I've seen enough of him. I don't think that he's made himself present, but he certainly.
You're right.
The last 3 games, stepped up against City, was probably our best player, certainly in the second half with that amazing goal. He was definitely present against Ammonia, and he definitely was again tonight with another good goal. So I'm going to admit it. I'm going to put my hands up and say that off air, I was saying I'm a little bit unsure about his presence if he can make it himself. But he's finding his feet and he's not going hiding for sure.
No, that's for sure. And it's still very early days. I mean, I think with tongue firmly in cheek, I was questioning whether he was a bit rubbish actually on the last pod. So he's not rubbish. He's got plenty of talent. It's the application of it. And is he going to get involved enough in the game to justify both his position in the side and the ridiculous amount of money that United paid for him? That bit's not his fault.
Yeah,
that's the dumb higher ups. There's a phrase in venture capital land, my kind of business, and smart money and dumb money, and United are dumb money. And we spent a lot of dumb money on Antony. Now, I'm hoping, I think even if he's amazing, it'd be hard to justify the fee that United has spent on a player from the Dutch league. But let's hope he does his best. And tonight, look, you can't argue with the output. There's 3 goals for him, 3 excellent goals for him in, I don't know how many games, 7 or 8 now. It's not
all
that many.
of his Premier League starts he's scored in, so that's
right. Excellent finish again tonight. Not that's not an easy finish, opening his body out like that. Just about got it high enough over Pickford, and United really need the right ball from Bruno. If he delayed much longer, it might not have been on. It'd have been too wide. Right ball from Bruno, fine finish, got United back in the game. Really needed that, and so yeah, good for Antony. And he got involved. You're right. He's been anonymous. So was Sancho on the other side. Sancho dropped tonight. It's a tough one for him, but the right call because on form, Rashford deserves to be in the team, and Rashford was bright again. Unlucky not to get the goal. I mean, I haven't quite seen the analysis of that because I don't think I saw enough replays to know whether it came off another part of his body onto his hand or direct onto his hand, because that really does matter for whether it's rightly chalked off by the VAR or not. So, but anyway, I think all the players that came in, none of them will be out of the team for the next Premier League game based on performance. Shaw was good, Casemiro was good, given his mistake. Rashford was good, bright, making the runs inside, making runs into the channel. Who else? There were the 4 changes, right? Casemiro, Shaw, Rashford, and maybe that's it. Martial, well, we'll see. He might not be fit.
Eriksen was magnificent again, by the way. Let's give him, he's unbelievable, isn't he? He's so good.
I mean, he's just so much, just a sense of calm in the centre of midfield. And he wouldn't have been playing in that role had United bought De Jong. I don't think they'd have played the 2 of them together. Maybe they would have, but it'd have been very bold. And so in that sense, it's last minute sort of change from Ten Hag to play Eriksen at 8 rather than further forward. But it's working. I'm sure there's games where it won't work, but tonight definitely did. Great on the ball, slows it down when you have to, speeds it up when you have to. Yeah, no notes, perfect.
Let's move on to Ronaldo. Let's talk about Ronaldo because obviously we've got to get this one out of the way. Now, a lot of people criticised him on Thursday, and I was tempted to because you look at the standard of the opposition, but I still felt. You know that the old adage in football is if they're getting into the right positions, then you don't have to worry too much. And Ronaldo's got so much experience that, I mean, unless his touch has suddenly deserted him and he's become a donkey, and I don't think that's the case. You know what I mean? It would have had to have been such a significant drop-off over the space of 6 months. And that a lot of people have started saying it could be due to his personal issues, that a lot of this stuff's got into his... And you can understand that as well. I don't think he would... I'm not going to say he was exceptional tonight, because I think that's unreasonable. But I think, like I said earlier, when he came on, considering he wasn't going to do what Martial does so well, he did really well because his link-up play was really good. His flick-ons were really good. His selflessness was a lot better than what it usually is. And maybe that's a lot to do with the fact that he scored earlier on, because we know how frustrated he got on Thursday night trying to score. So once it's off his back and he can sort of relax a little bit and open up and play a little bit more, then you see a better... I'm not saying, like I said, the limitations in his play. He's not a playmaker. He's not the old winger that we've seen. But considering what I expected when he came on, and considering the fact that he doesn't have the quick feet of Martial, and that's very important for this kind of build-up, I thought, do you know what? It gave us... I wouldn't be too concerned if he started on Sunday, and let's say like you put Martial on the bench just to give him a little bit of rest and bring him in sort of gingerly with that. Do you know what I mean? So, and
well, who knows with Martial how long this will be, depending on what it is. But yeah, no, he did all right, Ronaldo, tonight. Obviously got the goal, and there was a different celebration, wasn't there, for his 700th club goal?
Yeah,
I'm not sure what that one was about. The butterfly fingers thing, not the CU thing. But he was kind of tripping over his own feet against Ammonia. I thought there just seemed something kind of not quite right about him. But it did fine tonight.
It was probably due to the fact that everyone expected him to score, and because of the level of the opponent, they were expecting. He reminded me a little bit of... Can you remember Brian Robson's last game when we played against Coventry? He was on 99 goals. So we're going back a while. Not many listeners will remember, I don't think. Well, maybe they will. You've got a discerning audience across generations, right, Ed? I'm sure some people will remember. Brian Robson's last game at Old Trafford, we'd already won the league. It was his farewell. I think he was hoping it wouldn't be his farewell. He was still hoping to get in the cup final team. But Fergie played him anyway. And everyone was lining up trying to get Robson to score the 100th goal in a way that... I know that they were doing it against Ammonia in the second half, for sure. But it was even more obvious than that. Everyone was desperate for Robson to score in that game, and it just couldn't happen. And I mean, Ronaldo himself at the end, I've only ever seen him like that once before, and I remember a game against Derby County way back before the virus and everything like that, 2008. We were 0-0, and he scored eventually, but when he celebrated at the end, he was like reeling off the chances that he'd missed, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you sort of forgave that at the time because he was the best player in the world, and you forgave the greediness. You don't so much forgive it when it's being greedy and you're desperate to win against a team who aren't absolutely great. So to see the difference in his economy and his impact from Thursday to tonight, I think is a lot more reassuring in terms of the fact that we're probably still going to have to play him until January at the least. So if he
well, we'll see what happens later in the year and whether he really does leave in the window or not. Because I mean, it's the same as in the summer, isn't it? I mean, there's got to be a team that takes on his wages. United got to be willing to let him out of that contract and all of that. So there was just one occasion tonight when I think he had 3 players to the left and he shot when he probably should have passed. The rest of them, I think they were all justified. He made the right decisions most of the time, and that's the thing about Ronaldo. If he's going to ruin the system, which he kind of does, and not going to pass, then it's bad Ronaldo if he doesn't score. He has to score to justify his place in the team. Yeah. And tonight, he did. And it was a good finish, wasn't it? And a great ball into the channel from Casemiro as well. So, there you go. All good. All is forgiven if he scores.
What do we make of Lindelof? Because obviously it's a big spell for him.
It is a big spell. Varane was on the bench tonight. I'm guessing not completely ready, otherwise he'd have played. My one worry with Lindelof is Calvert-Lewin would come on. Everton will get a free kick around the box, and that would be it at the back post. And there was one occasion when Calvert-Lewin, right near the end, 89, 90 minutes on the clock, and got a header on, but couldn't get it on target. But, I think when you have a lot of the ball, Lindelof looks a lot better than when United don't have the ball. That's a kind of very obvious truism, isn't it? But when he's got the ball, he moves the ball well. United look good with it. If he's under pressure, especially anything physical, it's not so much.
Yeah.
He's done all right.
I thought he was good for the 85 minutes until they started making the changes. I'm not saying that he was bad afterwards, but he got a little bit frenetic, and he saw that it's difficult to judge. Like I said, but yeah, he was all right.
On paper, Lindelof and Martinez, not exactly the duo you'd want against Duncan Calvert-Lewin.
No.
But, I mean, Martinez, no mistakes, right? He just doesn't. He's all combative. I don't think we should have any concerns about him at all. So, I mean, unless they're going to bring Duncan Ferguson out of retirement, but then he bullied everyone. So, and Lindelof's done all right.
Yeah.
And Delo, like we haven't mentioned him, he was good tonight as well. Got forward a lot. Thought contributed a lot on the right-hand side. Him and Antony, maybe they're forming a partnership there.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think you're definitely right. And when I was talking earlier about recovery of personality and stuff like that, Dalot's a very big part of that, because he was horrendous against City. Let's not pull any punches, especially the first half. And I'm not digging him out. I just mean, like, he was one of a few who had a really bad day, and we knew that he had that in him. But again, it goes back to the point I was making about Shaw and Martial and Lindelof. It's like, what's the ceiling of these players? Are they going to be squad players for to get us into the top four, or are they going to be good squad players for that? And he had a bad game, and he could have gone backwards like we've seen in the past, but he didn't. He's recovered. He's kept his place because Wan-Bissaka's just nowhere near the squad at the moment. I know that he missed the trip to Cyprus, so Dalot was kind of lucky because he probably might have had a rest for that one. But he did well in that game, and he was very good again tonight, I think. And it does say a lot, because you've got to remember that those kind of games, like we had against City, they can be very, very mentally difficult for players to turn around. So, and we've criticised these. I definitely have criticised these players for their mental resilience over the last year. So to see us putting 2 good results away and getting two wins, you've got to give those players the credit, because they've been hammered for a year. So to see that resilience, it's like we were saying a couple of weeks ago on the pod about Maguire. This is a player who's had a lot of criticism, and I was saying, maybe it's time to lighten the load on him a little bit. But all of the players really have been subjected to the same level of criticism, those who've been around for the last year. So when they do play well, it's only fair of us to then say, all right, look at his response, look at his character, look at the way that he has stood up, knowing that he knows that he's massively in the spotlight after what happened against City. So fair play to Dalot for sure. I thought he was great again.
Yeah. I haven't seen any of the post-match quotes from Ten Hag yet. I'm not sure, but I mean, I'm sure he'll echo many of your thoughts about the resilience and the ability to come back tonight. I mean, they have not shown that very often in the last 2 years. Well, there was that spell under Ollie, wasn't there, where United kept coming back from behind. It kind of said something about the fact they went behind so often that they had to keep coming back. But certainly under late-stage Ollie and Rangnick, that was not happening. And when the team went behind in difficult circumstances, the heads all dropped, and that was it. Done. And that didn't happen tonight. There wasn't United were on top when Everton scored, and on top after Everton scored in that first half. And a lot of, I guess we can feel better about this team that they managed to do that at Goodison Park, with the atmosphere, with some of results over the years being absolutely horrendous. Like, it's not as if this has been a good hunting ground for United always. And so, we feel good about all of that.
Yeah, I really do. I think the Ollie thing is interesting, because I was probably one of his biggest fans. Not quite Tim Long Sports on Twitter. I wasn't quite that enthusiastic, but I loved Ollie to bits. I still do, and I thought he was a better manager and he did a better job than what most people give credit for. But you did wonder sometimes, are those performances papering over some of the cracks, or the comebacks, were they papering over some of the cracks? I'm not saying it's a good thing that we've had the last calendar year, so starting from 9th of October 2021 to 9th of October 2022 when we're talking. I'm not saying that it's a good thing that we've had so many sobering experiences that have let us know exactly where this team were. But what I'm trying to say, I'm trying to put the City defeat last week into perspective, because we could have seen United get away with a result last week, and well, I don't know under what circumstance we could have seen it, but it could have happened, right? Theoretically,
well, yeah.
in football, these things happen, and it could have happened, but then you might have had people thinking, "Oh, we're a lot more advanced than what we think we are." But we've seen Brighton, we've seen Brighton, Brentford, and City give us lessons that not that we expected, but we knew the flaws of this team, and we know that they're still there. So it's good that there's no hiding places, and that we're seeing the problems, and that we're seeing that the manager's being proactive with fixing them, and that the players are proactive in stepping up and taking that responsibility, because they are taking the responsibility in the performances in which they're showing, and that's all that you can ask of them. So I'm not saying, it's better that we lost against City, but it's a reminder of the level of where we are and where we need to be, because everybody knows we're nowhere near that level. And I'm not saying I'm definitely not saying it's a good thing that we conceded 6, but that was the reminder. That's where we are, and we're a long way from that. So as long as we're tempering that expectation, and we're like, all right, that's a bump in the road, pretty sizable one, but it's like, all right, it's a reality check, and now the players are where they are. I think if we start measuring the progress based on that, then I think we've got every right to be a lot more optimistic. Do you know what I mean?
Wayne making the bold case there. You're a Harry Maguire social media post. We'll bounce back. No. Interesting stat. The last time United came from behind to win a Premier League game, who was the manager?
Solskjaer.
Michael Carrick.
Oh,
When was Ollie fired? Have we had 4 in that you talking about the last year, 12 months, calendar months, 12 months. Was Ollie still manager on the 9th of October last year?
Yeah.
He wasn't he? Because it was November he got fired. So we had Ollie, Carrick, Rangnick,
Ralph.
and 10 or 4 managers in the past year. Interesting times. So I was just looking up some of the Ten Hag quotes after the game. He said that the Rashford one should have been a goal. I mean, instinctively, I'd say the same thing too, because he's there's no way he knew that I was hitting his hand. I just think, and I could be totally wrong about this because they've changed the guidance so often, but I thought it was, if it hits the goal scorer's hand, it's handball unless it's come off another part of his body. Mm. Again, sorry if I'm wrong for all the amateur refs out there. They have changed this one a lot.
He could have passed it, and let's say Ronaldo finishes it, and it would have stood.
And that would have been a goal. That would have been fine. Yeah.
What on earth? I mean, I don't know. I thought, watching it in real time, you think it's a goal, and then you go back and right, okay, that's the rule then. Do you know what I mean? And it's, what can you do in that? It's the interpretation. That's how the referee is taking it. And I thought it was a goal. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I think it looked like a perfectly good goal, but what can you do?
Yeah, screw VAR. And then the other one was Anthony Gordon going right through the back of Bruno. I mean,
yeah.
Is he saved because he's got some touch on the ball after cleaning out both of Bruno's legs? I'm not sure. I mean, it looked incredibly dangerous to me. He is a filthy scally, isn't he, that one? I mean...
Yeah, yeah. Do you know what? I know. I think it was a yellow. It was between a yellow and a red, but more yellow, because I think it was an aggressive tackle, and it was... I think just on the right side of losing control. And you don't want to lose those tackles completely, because they can change the pace of the game, and that's what you want. You need that kind of fire. You don't want it to... But I mean, that's the risk of football, isn't it? You're always going to run the risk when you've got an aggressive player who wants to win the ball back. That's the risk. Unfortunately, that's part of the risk of a physical game, and you don't want to outlaw the tackle. I think 10 years ago, that's a good tackle. No, 15 years ago, that's a good
15.
tackle. 50, yeah, maybe 20. We really are stretching back for the discerning audience on this one. But a while back, at least in the time I've been watching football, that could have been a good tackle for sure, and it would have got the blood pumping in the audience and everything like that, and gets them for it. And now, I do agree it was a yellow card. I think it would have been a little bit harsh for it to be a red, but... It was sort of like on that, but it was on the scale, wasn't it?
It's on the border, of between reckless and dangerous, I guess. The other thing, I guess we've got to talk about Ronaldo, 700 goals. I mean, we mentioned it briefly earlier. Paul, former podcast host, hasn't been seen in public since. He is still alive, folks. I believe. Good. I just see him on messaging, so it could be a bot. But anyway, he said if Erling Haaland scores 43 goals a season until he's Ronaldo's age, then he'll catch Ronaldo. That's phenomenal. Yeah, I mean, that's hell of a career. Whatever you think of Ronaldo and his performances since he's come back, and Ronaldo the human, might not think very highly in either case. That is one hell of a career.
And I tweeted Paul's comment was pretty good. That's a really good one. But I'll add my own little rollout for this one. Since he's returned to United, he's hit the following landmarks. And if it sounds like I'm reading my own tweet. So I'm not referencing...
You're allowed to read your own tweets.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like I'm referencing Google or anything. So he's become the top international goal scorer in the history of the men's game, which he did that before he kicked a ball for us after his return, wasn't it? It's the first international break. He scored 800, he reached 800 career goals when he scored against Arsenal. Is that right? Yeah, and then top goal scorer in the history of the men's club football when he scored the hat-trick against Spurs, and then tonight 700 club goals. I mean, the opinion of whether or not it was the right or wrong thing to do to bring him back is going to be one that's going to split opinion for 10, 20 years. I don't think anyone is going to have a conclusive opinion. I'm on the side of the fact that we weren't going to win anything last year. And if you're not going to win anything football, then it's measured in moments. Now, Ed, I know that you will probably say, well, those moments are better to measure if you're not looking at a regression. And I think that's a fair argument, and that's where the opinion is split. But if you're looking to the fact to say, oh, we were probably due a cycle of regression in terms of the manager was going to get sacked at some point. I'm not saying that was inevitable. Anyway, the point I'm saying is that football's measured in moments. You've literally had like 4 or 5 moments with Ronaldo, include the couple of hat-tricks that he scored as well, the couple of late winners in European football, that we've had a lot of massive historical moments as well. And all being equal, I'm glad that considering the last couple of years, we haven't had trophies to show for them. I'm glad that there's a period in history where we'll say, oh, Ronaldo was a Manchester United player when he reached all these landmarks. I think it's a good thing for the club that he did that. It's a good thing to look back and, like we look at the greats like Puskas and Di Stefano and what Messi's achieved and everything like that. I think it's not, you can argue the rights and wrongs about the regression, and certainly they're different arguments to the ones that I'm making. I'm not going to say, anyone's not entitled to that opinion. I just think it's a great thing, a good thing, not a great thing. I think it's a good thing that he's achieved these notable landmarks, and I'm glad that I've been at Old Trafford to see a couple of them. Do you know what I mean? Because at least you see in history, and if you're not seeing your team win trophies, then it's good to see these things. So,
well, that's right. When United were crap in the 80s, that's what you look forward to, the moments, the cup victories, the one-offs against Liverpool. So we'll see how much we get more of Ronaldo. I'd be surprised if he left in January, to be honest. But if he does leave in January, we've got about another month of him before the World, and then it's the window's open. So I think he'll be here till the end of the season. The club may well trigger the extra year. They do have the option. I would be shocked, even more shocked, for them to do that at the kind of wages he's on, to be a bit part player. It doesn't make a lot of sense. But what we'll get a few moments who my instinct would have been to say he is going to be too disruptive to be a squad player. This will be a disaster. Now, whether it's him having just settled down and said, okay, well, I'm here for the season now, so I might as well make the best of it, or whether it's Ten Hag has convinced him to play a part and not be a dick, I don't know the answer to that one, but it's not been completely disastrous, him being on the bench. It's not a bad role for him. He can come on in games like this or in other types of games, make a contribution. That's fine. It's not 30 million nettos worth of contribution, but it'd be hard for him if he was scoring Erling Haaland levels of goals. It's still, you're going, he earns how much?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Yeah, he's never going to be able to justify that.
Yeah, I mean, he's. and that's the roundabout part of the argument, because you're absolutely right, and United made a rod for their own back by bringing him back, and some of us had an idealistic view of how it would go, and some of us had a more realistic view of it because of the kind of team that he was coming into and the kind of sort of service line that was provided in that front line anyway. I'm not saying that it's a front line that doesn't provide service. It does, but it needs the components to be right. As we've seen, Martial, Rashford, Sancho, Bruno, those kind of players link up well, and it's not really conducive to the kind of goal supply that Ronaldo is traditionally favoured for receiving. Yep. But like you've said, it doesn't seem to be completely disastrous so far, and there are some indications that it could be useful, and that I guess a useful Ronaldo as a substitute is probably the best that we can ask for at the moment.
All right, well, that's victory over Everton. We've got another top European game against Ammonia Nicosia coming up. Anything you saw in last week's game that you're fearful of, Wayne?
No, I think that it's funny, I know a few Ammonia fans, actually. You wouldn't have credited it, but I know a few. And they're all good eggs, and they sort of knew that this was like the biggest game for them and everything like that. And I did actually, we were having the conversation before, and you're having that conversation with friends, and when it is more friendly, you big it up a little bit, and you sort of say, oh, well, don't write it off. But then I was thinking of like Road to Volgograd and other games like that where we've slipped up in the past. And I said, look, like United aren't at the best. They are not traditional. At the moment, they're not traditionally great responders to setbacks. So they had a good chance to strike at a vulnerability. And they also had the advantage of United not knowing a lot about them. I know they were probably scoured, but they still wouldn't have known until they come up face to face with them. So they had the opportunity to strike against United, and they did, because I think they played very well, and they pushed United, and they made United work very hard for that win. But I think
they really did.
I think that was the chance. Do you know what I mean? I do. I'm not being disrespectful, because I think they could rise to the occasion of playing at Old Trafford, but I think it might be a little bit too much for them.
I would think so. I mean, United have got to win all of the final three games to top the group, basically. And I can't remember whether it's done on head-to-head or away goals or goals difference anymore, because they changed that as well, didn't they? But anyway, United can have the win at Sociedad to come top of the group. And the only reason why it really matters, I mean, in Champions League, in theory, you'd be saying, well, so we get an easier game in the next round. In the Europa League, you play an extra round if you don't top the group.
Yeah.
And so United will be playing a two-legged game in a calendar after January, of which there will be no space whatsoever. Yeah. So it's probably going to mean some awful sort of Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday type schedule 1 week somewhere. And it'll be a Champions League dropout, so tougher game in theory, at least. So topping the group's quite important, really. And so that slip up against Sociedad at Old Trafford is kind of meaningful, assuming that United beat Ammonia this Thursday and then beat Sheriff at Old Trafford the week after.
Yeah.
It's the week after that in San Sebastian that will be the key game, I think.
Yeah, let's not discount the idea of Sociedad dropping points, because look, the teams that we've played against, they've not been easy games, and they've also given good, apart from Sheriff's first game, was it, or maybe Ammonia's first game. Apart from that, it's been a quite keenly contested group, and the teams have given good accounts of themselves. So they've definitely United have been made to work, and you would say on the balance of it that the two home games should be fairly comfortable for United now that they've navigated those two fairly tricky away ties. And that should put us in a good position to take advantage of any potential slip-up by Sociedad. But let's also reframe the argument. You said, United have to go to Sociedad and win, which is true. But any win against them will be good for United because of the fact that they only won 1-0 at Old Trafford. So if it is done on head-to-head, if it's done on head-to-head or goal difference, all those kind of things will count in United's favour, presuming or on the assumption that one of these two games that they get at home, that they register a nice scoreline in, which you would think that they will.
And the next one would be the right one to do it. I mean, I think Ammonia are probably just a bit weaker than Sheriff. I mean, there's not a lot in it. I mean, Sheriff were very good in the Champions League when they were in it last season.
Yeah,
but it's a much changed squad.
Yeah,
for some understandable reasons. They're not playing at home. It's all of that. It's very different. But yeah, this is the one. If United want to rack up a few goals to sort out that goal difference, a couple of goals behind Real Sociedad, I should say. Sociedad is not a place. So Real Sociedad. It's yeah, this is the one to do it. But they're bringing 5,000 fans to Old Trafford. Should be a great atmosphere.
Yeah, no, yeah, without doubt. I mean, some of those games you don't really look forward to, especially the Thursday night ones. But I'm not looking forward to this one because of the fact that I do. There's something different about. I'm not going to get the chance to experience it this time around, but I love going into Manchester before the game because of the atmosphere that the fans make around the visiting fans they make around town. The Atletico Madrid fans last season were really good in town before the game, so it sort of lended to the atmosphere quite. I know that the game was a bit of a damp squib, but the atmosphere beforehand was pretty good, and you know that they were going to be in good form in the game. So, and you know that these guys will be because it's a massive day for them, and that's not with condescension or anything. It is a massive day for them, and they're going to enjoy it. I remember Bilbao in 2012. Their fans were incredible when they came to Old Trafford, and it does. I mean, that's what you're there for. I mean, all right, it's the Europa League, and it's dressed up in a absolutely terrible name and everything like that. And we've discussed this on the podcast before, but the occasion of a team bringing a great away support, and we might not play them again as lowly ranked as they are, and everything. It's still going to be a special experience for them, and because of that, it lends itself to the occasion a little bit more. And especially if United can rack up a few goals, and to be fair, nobody at this moment in time is going to turn up the nose at like 4 or 5 goals being scored by United. You know what I mean? Because you can't take those kind of games for granted at any moment. So. You know.
Well, look, if United win 1-0, it wouldn't surprise me. So I'm definitely not taking it for granted. I assume there's going to be some changes. I don't know which changes exactly. So, because I mean, maybe Ronaldo will play because he needs some minutes. Maybe he won't because Martial won't be fit, and they'll be expecting him to play at the weekend. Who knows? Maybe they move Rashford through the centre again, and Sancho comes into the side. It'd be interesting because the players who need the minutes are the ones that actually played today. Shaw, Casemiro, Ronaldo. Yeah. So, yeah. We haven't seen any of the youngsters really play much this season. I guess this could be the game in theory, but can't really take too many chances. I mean, really can't risk. Here's a question for you, Wayne. If United come third, is there a relegation into the Conference League? Does it work like that? I have absolutely no idea. Could we end up in the Conference League? Is there a risk of that happening?
I'm going to surprise you here. My interest in this competition doesn't extend to such permutations. I really don't know. I really don't know. I think if we go out, we go out. And I haven't really considered. And I think is there like some kind of a knock-on effect like that? And
honestly, I really don't know. And you know what? To stretch some analogies here, if United are a sick horse and you put them down in that case, wouldn't you? I'd much rather we're out than playing in the Conference League. Christ almighty. Anyway, back to Ammonia coming to Old Trafford. Lots of fans. They'll make a great atmosphere. It's United is still despite the last 10 years, United are a big draw around Europe. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity for the fans. I'm not saying that in a patronising way, although it's kind of patronising, isn't it? But still, likelihood is that Ammonia won't be coming to Old Trafford again anytime soon. Big day out, big one for the travelling players as well. The real question is, which of the Ammonia players will ask Cristiano for his shirt first?
No, they were saying that the other night as well. It's their catch-22 is, do we set up to keep United out, or do we try and catch them early on with the early goal? Do you know what I mean? Because that's the real sort of crux of the matter for them, because they're going to want the result. and it's just about the way in which they go about it. I mean, Neil Lennon's going to want a famous scalp and everything like that. They're going to take some confidence from the fact that they ran as close on Thursday night. So they're going to come they're not going to come thinking, we're going to get battered 5-0, anything like that. So there is that, and that's going to lend itself to the spectacle as well. So I don't know about the changes, Ed. I think my guess would be that he'll start with a strong side and then look to kill the game off and make the changes after that. Do you know what I mean? Because, like you said, it's not one that even taking a 1-0 isn't something that you can take for granted at the moment. So, yeah, I would start strong and then make the changes. Having said that, that's a bit of a bold one to do if you're 0-0 on 60 minutes. So,
yeah, all right. I guess that's it for this week. and as you got any final thoughts on the mega tie that is Ammonia and Nicosia versus United? How far we done fell.
No, I do have one little thing that's not to do with the classic tie and the European tie of the week. Sammy McIlroy, I don't know if this will be common news by the time.
You may have heard of him.
Yeah, I know. I keep plugging him all the time, but this is for actual football related news. He's been appointed back at Macclesfield as a mentor to the manager.
Okay.
Because they're having a bit of a rough time at the moment. Obviously, they've been relegated back into the non-league and they're trying to sort of find their feet again. Sammy, as people might know, is probably, I think I can remove probably, is Macclesfield's best ever manager, oversaw their best ever period, and he's gone back there. Robbie Savage has contacted him. He contacted him in the middle of last week, asked him to go to the game at the weekend to sort of see the setup, see what he thinks of where Macclesfield currently are, and if he'd like to come back, because the manager's struggling a little bit and he kind of needs, would have appreciated some kind of mentorship. And I don't know exactly what form that's going to take. All I know is that I talked to Sammy last week about it, and he obviously wants to get back into football. He loves Macclesfield. His relationship with them can't be questioned because he's got such a strong affinity with the fans down there, and his love for the club has taken him back there. Do you know what I mean? So it's going to be interesting to see. I just thought it might be interesting too for me United. Obviously, Robbie Savage runs things down there, and he got Sammy back. So it is loosely connected. Even if I sort of plug in Sammy for the sake of plugging Sammy.
It's perfectly well connected. Two United old boys and yourself. Getting on in years as well, might add.
Wow. We went there already. Wow.
All right. From one old boy, me, to another, not quite as old, Wayne. Thank you very much for listening, everyone.